The first Mogul Mastermind meeting. And as per my emails that I've been sending out, I just want to talk about why we're here and what we're doing in the first place. So a lot of the conversations I've had with a lot of different clients, contacts, people at different real estate events that I've been at, there seems to be quite a demand for a lot more of the technical aspects of real estate investing and a little bit of people getting bored with stuff like leadership initiatives, self-improvement, and so on and so forth. So all I'm going to really be talking about is either economic data, or we're going to be going through the real bare bones of how to analyze a deal, and then we're going to break into small groups and talk about structuring a joint venture deal. And then my associates Simon and Elizabeth are going to be kind enough to do a really, really good landlord presentation. So how many of you here already own properties? Yeah, that's what I like to see. That's awesome. So this is going to be really good stuff for you guys. So I know most of you already know me, so this is just going to be a... All right, what about that? Okay, what if I do with that? There we go. All right, so most of you already know me, but I'm just going to introduce myself really quickly. My name is James Knull. With RE/MAX, I have over 250 doors in Edmonton. They're residential, they're multifamily. I'm one of the top 1% realtors in Canada. And whenever I go to other cities like Vancouver, I tell people I'm Edmonton's investment expert, who's not very good at using the podium either. And then, so why do we call this Mogul Mastermind? Because, as a lot of you who know me on a personal level know, I absolutely love skiing. And so we thought it would be a fun, tongue-in-cheek way to use the word mogul, both as a description of someone who's established in real estate and as myself who just can't get enough skiing. So the first thing I'm going to do is do a brief market update. I was just in Vancouver this weekend at a conference for the Real Estate Action Group, talking to them about the Edmonton and the Alberta economy and what's going on, and I gave an economic update and an outlook for 2016. So I'm going to start the meeting with that, because I think that a lot of you have been talking about and wondering about what's going on with the economy these days. So in 2015, two big things happened in the Alberta market. Number one, oil tanks. Number two, the NDP won. And both of these had a bit of an impact on our market. So I'm going to talk about the impact that each of these things has had and what we can do about it moving forward in 2016. Whoops. So first things first, the NDP won. So this is a picture of myself and Thomas Dang. Some of you know who he is, some of you don't. Thomas is an upstanding young man, 20 years old, real go-getter. I got the opportunity to work with him last year at the U of A, mentoring him through a volunteer organization that I work with, my fraternity, Delta Chi Upsilon. And what you might not know about Thomas is he is the youngest MLA ever elected to the Alberta legislature. So what's the point in showing this? I think if there's any 20-year-old in the entire city of Edmonton qualified to be an MLA, it's probably Thomas. But it doesn't change the fact that he's 20 years old. And right now, most of our MLAs that have been elected are retired civil servants, they're young people, they're students, they're people that don't have a lot of experience running government. And so what they've been doing for the last, it seems, basically since they've been elected, is figuring their jobs out, not making a lot of significant changes. So I basically wanted to talk about what has the NDP actually done since they've been elected. They've announced a minimum wage increase. They want to increase it to $15 by 2018. This is going to have a bit of an impact on small businesses, but realistically, with the average weekly income of the average Albertan being so high, if this cost gets passed on through some of the services like going to restaurants and whatnot to the consumer, which is what it's going to be. Anybody that owns a small business is just going to increase their prices to pay their staff. I still think that the affordability index here in Alberta is going to sustain that kind of a minimum wage. They're going to be increasing their carbon tax from $15 per ton up to $30 per ton, phasing this in over the length of the term. Now again, it seems like a huge increase, but it's basically bringing the carbon tax in line with what the carbon tax is throughout the rest of Canada. One thing they're doing is they're going to do a royalty review, but they've decided to completely scrap that until the end of 2016. Like the NDP or not, they're not idiots. They're not going to do a royalty review right in the middle of a super low oil market. So they said we're going to push that back for right now so that we're not going to shake things up and scare the companies in the short term. And they've increased corporate tax from 10% to 12%. Now, I have a lot of colleagues screaming bloody murder over this, but keep in mind this is tax on profit. So if you're running a business that has $1 million a year in revenue, and your tax goes up by 2%, this is a $20,000 increase in your overall tax bill, which kind of sucks. I mean, I'm paying more tax too, don't get me wrong. But I don't think that this is going to be enough to sink any serious business that's existing in Alberta right now. And if you look at the rest of Canada, well, the provinces that actually do stuff, like British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, everybody else's corporate taxes are between 10 and 12% as well. So it's not like we're pricing our corporate tax out of the market by increasing our corporate tax to this much. So I'm not advocating being super excited about the NDP government if you're not an NDP supporter. All I'm saying is they're not really doing that much, and they haven't really done that much. And based on what I'm seeing so far, it doesn't look like they're really going to do that much. So I don't think the NDP is having an impact on the economy over and above the fact that people are just kind of freaked out that there's uncertainty. Anytime there's a huge change, especially 40 years of stability in government, changing to a new government, people are going to freak out. And we saw this in May and June. On the street level as a realtor, basically May and June were 2 months where phone call after phone call after phone call, I had investors saying, hey, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I'm going to wait and see what happens, wait and see what happens. And then by August, September, when people realized that nothing had really changed that much, that's when I had a huge influx of investor clients coming out of the woodwork and start making acquisitions again. Now, the thing to note is that when there's uncertainty and everybody's freezing, that's when you can take advantage of an opportunity. And so we've got more political uncertainty on the horizon. There's a federal election right now. Nobody really knows who's going to win. We have two parties where if either the NDP or the Liberals win, the entire business community is going to have another hissy fit and freak out and say that the world's falling and that we're going to turn into a socialist state and that everything's toast. But the opportunity that arises, whoever wins, there's going to be a moment of uncertainty where a lot of people are just going to freeze, and there's going to be motivated sellers, especially sellers who think that the new government is going to be a problem. Now, when I was presenting in British Columbia over the weekend, I told them that if anybody knows about freezing, it's us Edmontonians, and I put this slide up. And I told them that I took this picture last weekend. And, and about 2/3 of them actually believed me. I had people coming up to me in the networking break and being like, is that what Edmonton looks like right now? And I was like, oh, it's terrible. I actually said, you know what? The cool thing about this picture is the ice that was on the river in August broke up a little bit. So it's a little bit warmer now than it has been like recently. You'd think I was talking to a bunch of Americans. It was ridiculous. So political uncertainty. All it does is create a brief window of opportunity while people freeze. Now, let's talk about the real driver here, and that's oil prices dropping. So anybody who's been paying attention to oil, which is probably all of us because it's kind of a big deal around here, oil prices plummeted and they've gotten super low. But the thing that I want to talk about is that this isn't really a new phenomenon. We go through a lot of historical fluctuations with the price of oil, and as you can see, all of the major crashes in the Alberta real estate market really correlate nicely with fluctuations in oil changes. So the point here is that timing is everything. If you understand how the economics of oil drive the real estate market in Alberta, then you can be in a position to actually capitalize on it. So let's zoom in a little bit. This is the price of oil over the last 20 years or so, and you can see here in 2008 when things crashed, in the early 2000s when things crashed, and in the late 90s when things crashed. The real estate, when we overlay it, follows pretty much an identical trend. So you can see the red is the price of oil. Can everybody see this all the way to the back? It looks pretty clear from up here, yeah? I see some nods. No head shakes, good. So you can see, and then I got the mouse isn't showing up, okay. So you can see prices taking a dive here, and prices are just set to drop again. So that's probably what's going to happen. If we zoom into the last major recession, and this one now, again, you can see the price of houses in blue dropping as the price of oil in red drops. And then as it gains strength again, we have a correlation going up. Now, with the price of oil dropping, we're starting to see the decrease already. So again, timing is everything. This is going to be opportunity. There's a couple of other key drivers that we real estate folks look at. And from a realtor's perspective, one of those drivers is total listings. So when the market is not doing so hot, people freak out and the total number of listings increases. So you can see in June of 2008, there were 2,500 listings. In August of 2008, there were just under 2,000 listings. Then as the market regained strength again and people weren't panicking, less people were inclined to sell. And now as we're heading into a period of uncertainty, starting in 2014 when oil prices went down, the total number of listings is creeping up again. It's simple supply and demand. As there's more listings, there's more sellers available, which means that it becomes a buyer's market. Sale price to list price ratio. This is the ratio between how many properties are listed and how many actually sell. So you can see through 2006, when times are really good, almost everything on the market sells. In 2008, when things get a little bit less good, not as many properties are selling. And then as the market regains strength, more and more of the properties that are listed start to sell again. And then again, right in line with the oil, our total number of properties sold decreases again. This is, another term for this is the absorption rate. Days on market. So again, back in 2006, 2007, when things were super hot, houses were sitting on the market 19, 25, 26 days. 2008, it jumps up to 50. We had a little bit of a stronger period in 2010. And then again, as the market slowly got stronger over the last 4 years, the number of days on market decreased. And then 2014, at the end of it, it ticks back up as the days on market increases. So I'm kind of belaboring this point, but all of the indicators that you can look at available in terms of what's happening with house sales in the market are showing us that the same pattern that emerged last time in terms of number of listings going up, days on market increasing, it's happening again. So to bring that point back, if you want to know what's going to happen with house prices, you want to take a quick look at oil prices. And the nice thing is that it creates opportunity. So in the short term, in fall of 2015, the opportunity is going to be capitalizing on the uncertainty that happens post-election. In the medium term, into the summer and into 2016, we're going to see buying opportunities starting to exist as sellers become more motivated and it becomes more of a buyer's market. Cool thing about Edmonton is that we're going to have a lot more stability this time around than we did during the last real fall of 2007. A couple of reasons for that. Reasons that we had before. The U of A has 39,000 students and 15,000 staff. Those people aren't going anywhere no matter how poor the economy is. The Edmonton Garrison, the base just north of the city, has 13,000 staff and family. And there's about 40,000 Government of Alberta staff that work in the city. So out of our population of just over 1 million, there's 100,000 people that are here independently of what the economy is doing. That adds a lot of stability. The thing that we have going for us this time that we didn't have last time is there's $4.8 billion of construction going on in the Edmonton downtown core. So people who are losing their oil jobs still have a lot of construction jobs to focus in on. And I'm sure even in the conversations you guys have been having with your colleagues, your friends, your family, people aren't leaving in the same intensity that they were in 2007. So a slide that I showed my Vancouver people is that Edmonton's downtown is incredibly small compared to Vancouver's downtown. So when I told them $4.8 billion of construction, a lot of them were like, well, you know, we've got way more than that happening right now. I said, well, hold on. If Vancouver's downtown was the same size and you had as many projects happening in that little square, it would be quite significant. So compared to a big city like Vancouver, our downtown is still very, very tiny. And so to have that much construction going on in it is a really big deal, which is something I'm sure you've all noticed just driving past the Arena District trying to navigate the traffic and dodging the cranes. Another project that's coming online in 2016 is we're actually going to be starting the southeast expansion of the LRT. All the blue circles are the stops. I'm sure most of you are aware of where those locations are. We're just finalizing the contractors for that, but every city official I've talked to has said that this is a go-ahead. And so, again, this is going to create a construction situation where there's going to be a lot of jobs available. So, a couple of useful tidbits. What do we want to do in a slow market? You want to fill vacancies. Having a vacancy in a slow market will just eat you alive. And so, whatever you can do to fill the vacancies that you have is what you should be focusing on. That means improving suites. I'll give you a real example. Last year when I had tenant turnover, I would basically give my suites a quick clean, and with a 0 to 1% vacancy rate, people would be lined up to take it. Now that the vacancy rate is pushing 4 or 5% again, maybe I'll give it a paint job. Maybe I'll replace some of the broken hardware. We'll replace some of the broken doors. Anything that you can do to give yourself a competitive advantage. When people have selection, they're going to pick the nice stuff first. And good tenants are the ones that you're trying to target. So in order to attract a good tenant, you need to have the best available product. Minimize your tenant turnover. This is customer service 101. If you've got good tenants paying good rent, it's time to start thinking about what you can do to incentivize them to stay. Whether it be a customer service initiative, like giving them gift cards or gift baskets, whether it be not raising their rent, considering that rents are dropping right now, even consider dropping rent on a really, really good tenant. You'd be surprised how appreciative somebody would be of a $20 to $50 a month rental decrease. When you're making acquisitions in a slow market, you really, really, really want to focus on cash flow, because you don't know if the point at which you're buying is the actual bottom of the market or part of a series of rises and falls that represent the bottom of the market. And so if you buy based on cash flow that's positive, then you've got a bit of a buffer available so that if the market goes down a little bit more and you have to drop your rents by, say, another $100, $150 a month, you can absorb that decrease in monthly rent. Whereas if you buy a property that's cash flow neutral at $0 a month, $75 a month, if rent goes down, then you're stuck. And the last thing you want to be doing is bleeding cash. Time to start making some aggressive offers again. So this is one of my personal favorite features of a down market. Last summer, we were making multiple offers. This summer, we're coming in and charging with lower offers. We're actually getting money off list price again. Our sale price to list price ratio, instead of being like 98, 99%, I just got a deal recently with one of my clients where it was actually closer to 96%. That's another $5,000 to $10,000 off of the list price that we were able to get from a truly motivated seller. Maybe somebody that was worried that the NDP was currently sinking the province. I don't know. The ultimate goal when you make your acquisition is focus on quality property. To tie into my earlier points, good tenants have selection in a slow market. And so you want to do everything you can to attract those good tenants, and the way to do it is focusing on top quality property so that whoever comes to the door that wants to rent it wants to rent yours first and not the one down the street. The point I'm going to end off with on this quick part of the presentation is that the bottom of a market is like a stone skipping across the water. It doesn't skip just once across the bottom. So when you throw that stone, you hit bottom, it kind of goes up a little bit, you hit bottom, it kind of goes up a bit, you hit bottom, it kind of goes up a little bit. We're probably looking at a period of slow market activity of a minimum of 12, probably maximum of 24 to 36 months. And at that point, when we look back on it 3 years from now, there's going to be one point at which it was the absolute lowest that it was. But if we look at a graph, it's going to be a zigzag that's going to be more or less a zero growth line for a period of time. So if you only plan on buying one property in that 3-year period, then do your best to estimate when that bottom point is going to be and target that acquisition timeline. But I'm guessing most people in this room have a goal of owning a portfolio of properties that involves buying 3 to 6 properties per year. And you can't buy all 18 properties in the 1 month period that the market bottoms out. That's physically impossible. So you basically have to slowly and surely acquire properties during a slow part of the market, and starting right about now, especially once the election results are announced, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, and we're going to be looking at a really nice window of opportunity to make some acquisitions. So that is that part of the presentation. Let me just, you guys can see that? Okay. Whoa, nice picture. So now we're going to talk about, we're going to move on to the next section, and that's going to be deal analysis. So, let's get this one up.